Glad to have you join us this morning on Good Morning Anambra discussion segment. My name is Ajuluchuku Okabwe, and today the topic we'll be talking about is the 2024 World Earth Day, preserving and respecting our environment. And in the studio, my immediate left, I have with me Jack Paniel, State Coordinator, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESTRIA. Jack, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And also we have Engineer Dr. Emmanuel Chukwuma, lecturer, UNIZIK, activist on environmental sustainability issues. Good morning, Engineer Chukwuma. It's always a pleasure having you around here. And we'll be talking about the World Earth Day. And like we all know, the Earth belongs to each and every one of us. April 22 every year is selected as a day where we celebrate Mother Earth Day, which is what the World Earth Day is usually known as. The purpose of the day is to raise awareness about various issues that threaten the environment and endanger the planet, such as the rapidly rising levels of pollution, deforestation, global warming, and the planet is commemorating the 54th World Earth Day. And then the theme for this year is plastic versus the planet. Well, we all know that looking around every nook and cranny of wherever you are, be it even in the developed world, we know we have issues with plastics in different forms, both the ones we use for wrapping our foods and drinks and stuff like that. But these things, if not properly disposed, definitely endangers the planet. Well, quickly, I'm not an expert. We have experts in the studio that will really get to tell us a little bit about more. And I believe by watching, you too will learn a thing or two. Quickly, let's get down to the business of the day. Let me start with you, Mr. Paniel. Talking about World Earth Day, what is the message the world should be thinking, or the take-home message for inhabitants of Earth coming to talk about the event that we have today?
Okay, thank you very much. The World Earth Day is one of those unique days set aside by the UN or the world to raise awareness on environmental issues. The need for us to reconnect or connect with our environment, connect in the sense that we rediscover what the operations of the earth, how the earth functions, and we discover what our own stake on the earth, how we make use of the resource of the earth, and then while making use of these resources, how do we improve or preserve the earth so that we can bequeath it to the future generation. Man generally lives in two worlds, as we will say. One is the one bequeathed to us by nature, which includes the plants, animal, air, soil, and the rest of it that consists the earth. The other aspect of the world is what we make of this resource, and our products from it, and also our waste from it. So these two will always go together. The essence of the Earth Day is to look at this relationship, how essential they are to us, and then how do we ensure that we continue to make use of these resources without depleting it or getting it to a point of extinction, and then we can bequeath it to the coming generation.
Thank you so much. Let me come to you, activist and engineer Chukwuma. They say the earth takes care of itself, even with little or no contribution from man. If that be the case, why are we always talking about global warming, talking about deforestation, and so many other challenges that we encounter living on planet Earth, if the Earth actually takes care of itself?
Thank you so much. It's either to take care of it.
Yeah.
Because before we can go further, we have to prove earth take care of itself. Of course, to some extent, the earth has a way of adjusting to take care of issues just like human body.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have malaria, for instance, there is an extent to which your body immunity can work to adjust. But we should be able to know that the body has the capacity and the immunity is to an extent. But if the bacteria or the pathogens are stronger than the immunity, what happens? You break down. So we need to understand that the earth has its own capacity to handle some of the misuse or environmental challenges we have. So based on that, we cannot say that the earth takes care of itself to the extreme. So there's a capacity to that. So take for instance the ocean. They try to manage it, but the excessive discharge of waste has caused a lot of harm to us. So I don't believe strongly with that. I don't believe with that the earth takes care of itself. The earth has its limited capacity to do that.
Yeah, I know you're a scientist and an environmentalist. You probably would not agree to that. But then at the same time, we equally have issues where environmentalists have come to say there are certain parts, there are certain things that humans consume that are non-degradable. But yet we still perpetuate producing such things. Just like the theme of this year is talking about the planet versus plastics. We all know that these things are non-degradable. They can only be recycled. So why are we still having companies manufacturing products branded in these items?
Okay, thank you so much. This is where policymakers and the government actually comes in, because some developed countries are some steps ahead of others. So there are places where the companies that produce plastics are giving quotation the quantity they should produce, and they are heavily tasked to reduce their production. So I think this is where the government comes in. There are alternatives to plastics. We have, for instance, in my institution, where people who are trying to produce value plastics. So that is materials you can use, and then they are biodegradable. But the issue is they are more expensive because they are nature-based. So here government comes in to help to subsidize the cost of some of these nature-based materials, and then make it available to people, and that's all the goal of pollution of plastics in our environment.
So still talking about plastics, Jack Panel, what would it cost a government in a third world country like Africa to rather generate power from recyclables, waste, and other materials just to have that, let's say, idea of preserving Mother Nature?
First, let me say this. One aspect of environmental protection is not the complete or outright stop of the use of resources or development. But while man is carrying out his activity, the impact of man activity on the planet, how can we minimize it to the barest minimum that at the long run it is completely significant in terms of its impact on the environment. So we may not completely do without plastics. Okay, let me just put it with the current technology available. There are some areas where plastics are used for some very
specific
things,
productions.
And as our technology, as far as technology is concerned, there may be no substitute for that now, so we will keep using. But there are other ones that we can do without, like the one you use, packaging and the rest. You can go to the market with your bag, which is reusable. So that is what we should. The government is the approach towards, trying to regulate the production of plastic. But from what you said, the third world country have these challenges. Fund is a challenge. The technical know-how is there.
Yeah.
Manpower also is there. In the developed world, yes, they could come up, but
because I've seen it work in I think in Argentina, where they recycle waste, all manner of waste, solid, bio waste, even human waste, and to generating power and producing other things. So what is, and building the economy of that region. Because all they do in that area, you see scavengers going to the recycling plant and dumping whatever thing that they've scavenged and collecting money for it. And then you have a recycling plant that is generating electricity, that is bringing out products, and so many other things. What is stopping us? And then they are reducing their carbon emission and the rest of it, and even the waste in that region in Argentina. So what is stopping us from achieving things like that?
The truth is, currently, someone said the challenge right now in environmental protection is not the remedies. The remedies are well known now, but there are the major challenge is getting these remedies to be socially, economically, and politically acceptable to the populace. Socially, we can, like you are saying, the forester can develop or can come up with trees, fast-growing trees and the rest. But the villager, will the villager who cooks with the wood be ready to allow this thing grow sustainably and use it sustainably? Engineers come up with abatement equipment for industries that pollute, but will the industrialists be ready to pay to acquire or purchase the politicians, the lawmakers? These things are there, the remedies are there. Is there that acceptance, the willpower to implement these things? So it's a complex issue in most times, especially in the developed country, because one, the acceptance is not there. Just take, for example, within Anambra here. There is nobody that is not aware that littering of the plastic bottles is bad and it's injurious to the environment. But you see a young man finish drinking and the next thing he flips it up. So the major challenge for me in our palace is not the fund availability or the knowledge availability.
Or even the funding to set up things like that?
Because we can even borrow, collect loans to implement all of this, but that acceptance, the willpower to begin to implement these remedies, for me, I think those are our challenges here.
You have...
let me add to that.
Okay.
Yes. For instance, in my master's degree, I did something on biogas, which is just accumulate waste from abattoirs, put it in a digester, and then you will get gas. The same gas you can use it to cook, you can use it to generate electricity. So I've done the experiment, it's online, and it's ended. That's the problem. So there is no relationship between the government, industries, and academia in terms of research, so that some of these findings would be implemented. So in some places, some of these technology are being implemented because the government takes off from where academia stops. So because there is a loose relationship between industries, academia, and then the government, some of the research in our academics just lies there. So
what of the school itself, where this your work is being done, like your master's program you're talking about? Can the school get funding in order to support the actualization of that project you did on a larger scale?
Yes, but the issue is that you're just one among the thousands of people who are doing research. So how do schools scale or prioritize researchers? So this is where government comes in and say, the problem we have is a problem of energy. We have a problem of electricity.
Yeah, we all know that.
Faculty of Engineering, can you help us do some research on how to solve the problem of electricity? And if there are research that have been done, what do we do to maximize it? So, and then if there are industries that are also interested, and they'll tell you, okay, you stop at this point. Can we finance this project so that you get to this point, so that we can supply electricity to our industry or good? So that is where the problem is. We are not actually, there's a loose communication and relationship between the government, academia, and industry. So a lot of resources are wasted. So sometimes when I see vehicles pass some of our municipal waste and we go and dump it in a kind of a pit, I just keep saying how we're wasting materials and resources.
Well, sorry, let me also say this. Most times in the third world nation, we most times leave fundings of such researches to the government, or expect government to pick up like Doc is saying. But there are companies that can take these technologies.
Because it will definitely do them some good, power generation and the rest of it.
In overseas countries, most of those projects are funded by individuals, philanthropies and companies. And at the end of the day, they know how to bring the business aspect of it and then recoup their money. So for me, in order to add to what Doc said, we shouldn't just leave it to the government alone. Private industries, or like we say PPP, we can have such arrangements and then pick it up from there. Find projects carried out now is just there in the book form, yeah. But the company can pick it up and run with it and make their profit out of it also.
Well, still talking about the Mother Earth, and then talking about the planet and plastic war. And there was this documentary I saw online not too long ago where an Israeli woman made a plastic that is dissolvable. A plastic, you can use it and then you throw it into water and it dissolves. No longer going to be hazardous to animals in the sea and then the ocean and the rest of it all. If such things, and it happened in a university in Israel, she's needing funds, and she said she needs about $250,000 or whatever to take it to the greater, to make it big, you understand? If a thing like that were to happen, what happens to, because you're talking about the earth, so there should be a balance. If you can make things like that, what happens to people that are working in plants where plastics are being produced? Does that mean that you scale off these people and then you get earth to, you understand, have some form of regeneration? Is there not going to be a way to balance it so that man doesn't suffer in bringing bread home just because we want to make earth survive? What's your take on that, Jack? Chukuma.
Yeah, like you said, there are always research, and researches are made to solve problems. So to the extent it can solve problems is determined by decision making, and policymakers, that's where policy comes in. So for me, if you want to scale up the project, you should be able to also assess the impact of that project on kind of employment opportunities and companies and the rest of them. So it's sort of laying off staff that are working in plastic companies. The same project, you can transfer some of those staff, give them the skills, and then they just have to.
How many people will be willing to sell their patents, you understand, for you to have a business that I invented all over the world? Sometimes people want to keep the original stuff with them rather than sell it out.
Yeah, like you keep saying, see, sometimes you have to make a decision between life and money. So if we are deteriorating the environment and the environment is getting very, very unconducive for us to live, you choose life. So the problem I have is typically a number of people are looking at the money and seeing it as a priority to life. Okay, so I think in everything we do, life should be a priority, and investments that helps to sustain the earth should be a priority, and not just the money aspect or the patent aspect. Of course, there will always be a way to survive. And then what we're actually saying is when we embark on projects that helps in earth sustainability, it is for the good of all. So it doesn't make sense that you have millions in your account and you're dying of cancer because of environmental pollution. You won't live long to enjoy the money. So we need to embark on projects that will give you that sustainability on earth, and then give you good earth to breathe, give you the time to live on earth and also enjoy the money. So I think life should be a priority.
Well, you've just made mention of the balance there. And yeah, still talking about the balance, even though the theme for this World Earth Day is talking about planet and plastics, but we still have other things that affect the earth, you understand? Like statistics shows that most lakes in the world are drying up. They are drying up, and by drying up, sustenance, you understand? People living around that area already having challenges. We have areas where the desert is encroaching beyond its boundaries. So many challenges to the earth that we live in, you understand? Some places we are talking about deforestation at a massive scale, just like you talked about money, people wanting to make more money and stuff like that. What is, as an activist that you are, what your organization and environmentalists doing to at least curtail this thing and save what is left of planet Earth?
Yeah, as an NGO and as an environmentalist, we're actually making a number of efforts based on our capacity. Okay, so for instance, last year we did some tree planting around the Williams Square. We worked with the Ministry of Environment, provided trees and then seedless trees, and then we planted it around that area. We also planted in Unity, that's right where I work. So because we understand that, for instance, a month from February, March, we experience a strong heat waves because of the same thing we're talking about. The climate change impact is becoming obvious even to the blind man. So what do we do? This year should be a year that we should have more people to plant more trees to save us for the next year heat waves. So for us organizations, we are actually working towards that. Of course, we're going to embark on tree planting this year. But if we can get more support from the government and from individuals, it will help us to do a lot. And then apart from that, we also embark in clean-up exercise, create awareness so that people should stop polluting plastics and the rest of them. These are just few of the things we do. More of them are also on our website, so we're doing the much we can based on our capacity.
Oh, thank you so much. Jack, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency. Just, few words. Tell us where and how your agency tries to do what? Sensitize people on the dangers of the environment.
Okay. We have NESRA as the principal environmental protection agency in the country. We are able to scale down our activities to 5 areas. One is what we call sensitization and awareness creation, which, like you were saying, takes us to the public through radio stations, TVs, magazines, and the rest of them, try to sensitize the populace on our role and the impact of activities, sustainable activities on planet Earth. The other aspect is, we call it stakeholders engagement. NGOs like this, we bring them to share knowledge with us. We also carry out compliance monitoring to industries who are major
pollution.
No, not pollution, but they are major players, as in making use of the environment.
Okay.
And so we regulate the activities where they deploy equipment that are obsolete or equipment that are harmful to the environment. We prohibit such equipment and other things. Then we have the public participation. We also engage the public. We don't know it all. We can't be at every place, so we get the public to support us, both with knowledge, volunteering, and the rest of it. And the 5th one is what we call environmental policing. And that's for those that have decided not to comply or not to stop their hazardous activities on the environment. We get to use punitive measures to compel them to ensure that their activities are environmentally friendly. In terms of awareness, we've done a lot. We are still doing more now. Major aspect of our work of recent has been policy making. Like the plastic aspect, we've come up with the EPRO, we call it Extended Producer Responsibility, where it is majorly focused on getting recyclable materials, both from the EEE, chemical, batteries, all sectors of the economy, to see how the waste or the byproducts can be recycled. So it's no longer what we call linear economy, where you produce till you dump, but it becomes a circular economy, where from production or from cradle to cradle. So that, for now, is one of the major focus of the agency, trying to get the EPRO fully functional and operational in Nigeria.
Well, thank you. I'll get back to you, but then that will be after we go on a street walk. Let's get to feel the pulse of our street parliamentarians. Let them get to know how well they care about Earth and what they do in order to preserve Mother Earth. We'll be back after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Several things have been causing problems in our environment by afforestation, that's planting of trees. Or maybe after cutting down trees, we should plant young ones so that they could grow to prevent some disasters, that's radiation that is coming from the sun. We should stop bush burning. Bush burning, when it goes up to the air, it causes the ozone layer to start depleting. That's ozone layer depletion, and it makes the sun rays to reach to us, even making us to feel more uncomfortable. And according to science now, they are saying that ozone layer is depleting continuously now, is going down more, and that is why we should control bush burning. Instead of burning in the afternoon, we should make sure that we burn during morning or evening time, because sun and burning, it doesn't go that way now. Another one is, if you look around this place, you know that they planted trees, and these trees makes air to come to us. We feel comfortable. At least I can stay here, even me, I can stay here and read because it's okay. I don't feel stressed, because when I was inside the library, it was very hot there. I have to come outside because the trees around will make you comfortable and the air around will make you feel okay. So that is the importance of these trees. Farmers should also, they cultivate the habits of crop rotation. That's crop rotation. You know, when you do crop rotation, that's changing of crops all the time. There are some crops that brings benefits to the soil, while there are some crops that if you keep on planting it all of the time, it will make the fertility of the soil to go down. When you mix them together, if you plant this one and plant the other one, it will make the soil fertility to retain.
The main one is by keeping it clean. When government builds roads and people dumping refuse inside of it, that's one of the things that affects our environment. It affects both the surrounding environment and even the people living in it. When we cut down more trees than we plant, it also affects the environment. I also want to use this as a medium to also encourage people that build. Sometimes you see people that build residential houses. After building it, they clear the whole place and then do it what we call increte. They do it the whole of their compound. You won't see any single plant there. All those things affect the environment. And even the person living there, that concrete creates more heat. It heats up that environment, so it makes it uncomfortable.
All these deforestations we are seeing all around, we have to go back to the village, telling people the advantage of what we can gain. Like here now, if you look around here, you can see all these trees you see here is my handwork. I have a purpose when I'm planting all these trees. Like here now, you can see the students can decide and sit under this tree and be reading. You can see the kind of air we are receiving here. It's even blocking the noise that is coming from here. I believe that if we can sensitize the villagers and people that do not know the benefits of or the hazards of this deforestations.
Mother Earth really needs our help in order to make it habitable for every one of us. But then, what are you doing in your locality? Just like we heard some people saying, tree planting is one of the areas whereby you can really help Mother Earth, because the tree gives us the oxygen that we breathe. So if we do that and a little bit more, we definitely will have a better place to live. Quickly, a lady was talking about the ozone layer and stuff like that. And not too long ago, we heard about 130,000 people leaving some parts of Russia and Kazakhstan because of melting ice. Nigeria is really blessed. We really have such issues of, apart from flooding, like the hurricane, earthquake, tsunami, typhoon, name it, mudslide. What could be responsible for melting ice to evacuate 130 people within these two countries, Russia and Kazakhstan, just about 2 weeks ago?
Yes, we need to understand that everything is connected. So, so in a simple way, during some of these things we're talking about, push pawning, industrial activities, and the rest of them, they release what we call greenhouse gases, which include carbon dioxide, methane, a number of these gases. So when these gases goes up, they tend to trap the heat that is on the earth, because when the sun shines on the earth, some of the light gets reflected. So, but when these gases are there on the atmosphere, they help to trap. So what it means is the earth is getting hotter. So because the earth is getting hotter, some of these places which were mountains of ice are beginning to melt because the earth is getting hotter. And what it simply means, when they melt, they enter into the water bodies, and then
swell up the ocean.
Sea level starts to rise, and then some of the places where people have lived for years is now kind of the flooding and the rest of them starts taking place. So we need to understand that nothing works alone. Everything about life, every activities you do on earth is connected to something.
So whatever danger you're doing in Venezuela could be affecting somebody in Canada. Wow, that's really good. And now, when we're talking about the earth and then itself, trying to preserve it, most times when you hear most of these advanced countries having this World Health Summit, they hammer on reduction of gas emissions and the rest of it all. But these things happen mostly in developed countries than it happens in third world countries. What are they doing as big time players in order to reduce their gas? Because they are the manufacturers of the world, China and the rest of it all. What do we actually do here, apart from the crime of maybe bush burning and maybe deforestation and the rest of it all? I was thinking that the bulk of how to arrest all these anomalies should be more on the developed countries than on these other parts of the world.
Okay, so it depends on how you see it. So the issue is when you create a problem, the problem starts with you, and then before it gets to some other person. So for instance, if we litter here, for instance, with plastics, the plastic being moved to the nearest water body we have here in Anambra State, and then from there it will travel to River Niger. From River Niger it will travel to the ocean, and then based on the current in the ocean, it has a place where they are stored. So despite the fact that this impact is felt at a far away place, the impact starts with us, because here around us, some of the fishes that feed on these plastics are dying. Some of them are being strangulated by plastic. So we cannot just leave the bulk of the matter to international communities. Yes, of course, they also have their own strategy of trying to minimize, because, for instance, companies have what their carbon credits. So, but the problem here is, some of our problem is we allow some of our wastes to emit their methane naturally. So we're also contributing to our problem, because if these things are confined in a biogas plant and the gas is tapped and the energy is used, it will reduce the natural emission. So we're actually taking care of a number of things, despite the fact that we don't have all the technology. But there's something we can do to reduce the impact on our own locality and region before it accompanies the impact on faraway places.
Okay, let me come to you, Jack. Schools have just resumed recently for the third term sessions and stuff like that. What is Nestra doing in order to carry this awareness to the youth, even the children, primary, secondary, and tertiary, just to get this awareness, enshrined into the mindset of these kids? Because I know so well, when you teach kids at home basic personal hygiene, when they come home, they try to replicate it to their parents. And if a message like this that concerns health is being passed on to these children early enough, I think as they grow with it, they become more conscious of how to preserve Mother Earth. What's your take on that?
Okay, let me say two things now. One is in support of what Doc said. Most of these conventions and treaties that bring about, what you said, they are actually ways of gathering global concerted efforts. And from such conventions and treaties, countries are now committed to actions which at the end of the day will bring about reductions of this production. That, like the clean development mechanism, it makes provision for countries that are very industrialized. They cannot stop, they are advanced,
Yeah.
they have gone ahead. So if they cannot reduce their emissions, then they look for countries that have the carbon credits, and then they buy over. So it's like that. That's what you mentioned about carbon trading. So it also gives us in the developed countries opportunities to make money as to develop our own sites. There are people who go planting large expanse. Brazil is up to a project now. The Amazon rainforest. They are coming up with a program where they are going to, what do you call this, tokenize, the Amazon, and people can invest. All of that is part of, outcomes of such conventions. For our activities to schools, creating the awareness, like I mentioned earlier, one of our major cardinal areas is sensitization and awareness creation. And one aspect of this awareness creation is what we call environmental education advancement program. It's a program where we are looking at putting the environmental studies into the curriculum of schools. The proposal is there. They are being worked on. I can't tell for now the level it has gone, but that is just the idea. Let this environmental education be advanced to the level that it is part of the curriculum of schools. We can also look at it even within Anambra, NESRA partnering with the states, so we don't need to wait for the federal to come to the state. We are already present in the state. We work with the commissioner of the Ministry of Environment and implement it here in Anambra.
Okay. Thank you so much on that. Quickly, not too long ago, we were told that 31 states, if I'm not mistaken, there's this alert that 31 states might be flooded when the rainy season comes in full swing. With this kind of warning, what can the state government, the federal government get to do in order to forestall people being evacuated from their homes and farmers losing their farm plants and the rest of it all, in order to forestall hunger? Because that is a clear and present danger whenever things like this does happen in this country. Chukwuma, Dr. Chukwuma, is there anything the government can do in order to see to the end of this perennial flooding in this part of the world? 31 states out of 36, that is a grave danger for any person living in those areas where they feel that these things might actually occur.
Okay, so when you have a problem, you look at it at a short-term or a long-term solution. So flood has become an annual issue. And then if your place was flooded last year, then there is tendency of it being flooded this year. But the question is to what degree? So I guess people where all these things are happening are already aware. But I think also maybe they're getting used to it. So, but the government can come in a number of ways. One of the things they could do is the dam we built. Can we build some dams that can help to control the water and then regulate it in a better way? Another way also I think it can do is to look at the kind of structures that should be built in such area. Yeah, so some developed countries where there are water bodies, houses built in there, but they are not within the same sea level. They are just high above, so that people will be there, and then they don't even know that the area is flooded. So this is where the civil and construction companies comes in, and then people can still be living their life. The areas are flooded, but the structures are so strong, the foundations are well built, and then So there is a lot the government can do. And then long-term these are areas that you can also map with GIS, kind of a software, and then you know the areas. Look at the places that are conducive enough. Try to move the people well ahead of time before the flood starts. So there are a lot of options that the government and the people can work with, just a matter of choice.
Because this one is some natural disaster that comes with warning. Yeah. Unlike the earthquake, the hurricane, and the rest of it, that comes with little or no warning for people to evacuate. And yet, we are still finding it difficult in order to get by. So I think a whole lot needs to be done on the part of...
It's not just on the government side. The citizens, the populace, how ready are we to adhere to laws? There are even the, power line. It is said that you don't build under, you keep it 50 meters, and people will still carry out activities under such distance. That when it happens now, you begin to call government. There are laws, regulations on wetlands or river banks and the rest of it, and it prohibits building of houses about 25 meters to such areas. Even the quarry sites says do not establish a quarry 3 kilometers or 3,000 meters from residential areas. But you will see a quarry here, and then somebody is going to build a house. So already, that is what I was saying, socially, economically, politically acceptable are these remedies before us. If we're not ready to accept these remedies, we cannot adhere to it. So most times it's not just on government sides. The people...
But Jack, the government is there to implement these things. If government says don't do this, then when you go out to do it, you have committed a crime.
Yes, it brings about the enforcement.
Yeah.
But would we continue on the enforcement aspect? Why can't there be a voluntary compliance? It is not always force. People should be ready to accept these remedies, as we have used earlier, and then comply, so that you even save government the cost. Every enforcement is money. So those funds can be channeled to other purposes. But if we are not ready to accept these remedies, then even when there is enforcement, today they enforce, tomorrow they go back to the same position, we will just be going around the circle.
Quickly, because of want of time, so now based on the fact that we are having our challenges based on the planet and the plastic, in one sentence, just a few minutes, what do you think we tend to achieve in the nearest future when it has to do with the earth, preserving the earth, and this fight, the win against the plastics and our planet?
The major focus now is on reduction. Reduction on our production of these plastics, reduction on our consumption, things that are not necessarily done by. It's not because something is beautiful, you buy it and then it gets to the house, no usefulness. So focus is on reduction. By the time we reduce, our consumptions, production also will reduce, and at the end of the day, we can achieve the sustainability we are looking for.
Thank you. Your take?
Yeah, everything boils down to the individual decisions we make every day. So we need more people who are enlightened on the use of plastics. So you don't litter plastic for anything, and then reduce, like I mentioned. You don't go to market and sell them each of the items, put it in one plastic bag, and you take a whole lot of them and then you litter them. So you reduce the use of plastic. And there are alternatives to plastic. There are some clothes that are made of bag that you can use for packaging. So just go, it might be a bit expensive, but you can use it for a longer time and it will save you more. So let's make personal decisions to live our life in such a way that it will save us and preserve the earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Dr. Emmanuel Chukwuma, lecturer, UNIZIC activist on environmental sustainability issues. Thank you for being on our program this morning. And Jack Paniel, State Coordinator, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRA. Thank you so much, Jack. It's always a pleasure having you here. And well, you've heard it all from the experts talking about preserving our Mother Earth. Then, I remember when we were even younger, we used to go to market and buy things. They used to put it in paper bags, that is folded paper bags, and then the earth was better than this cellophane nylon bag that we do carry around. Well, in our way, in our little ways, in our different places at work, at home, schools, or wherever you are, try as much as you can to make sure that you do your own little part in preserving Mother Earth. On that note, I say we'll come to the end of today's discussion. I remain Ajubuchuku Okawe. Tomorrow we'll definitely get to do it again on ABS. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.